I spotted my target through the gallery window while pretending to admire a Monet. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Anaheim's pretentious art scene, while my mother's voicemail about another perfect match burned in my pocket. If she only knew her dear daughter Lana was actually here to plan someone's demise. Remarkable interpretation of violence, isn't it? A voice like warm honey interrupted my surveillance. I turned to find striking green eyes studying me instead of the painting. Black hair fell in waves around a face that seemed too kind for this world. I was actually looking at the hidden dagger in the bouquet, I replied, surprising myself by engaging. The woman, tall, elegant in a charcoal blazer, smiled knowingly. Phoebe Warner, she extended her hand. I'm fascinated by how beauty often conceals danger. Lana, I offered, omitting my surname as usual. Her handshake lingered a moment too long, sending an unexpected shiver down my spine. You seem to understand darkness, she observed. Most people miss the shadows in this piece. I almost laughed. If she knew how intimate I was with darkness, she'd run screaming. Instead, I found myself drawn into a conversation about art's ability to mask violence. My target forgotten, I watched Phoebe's hands dance through the air as she spoke, her passion infectious. Care to join me for coffee? She asked as the gallery began to close. Warning bells screamed in my head. I never deviated from mission prep. Yet, something about her. Rain check, I said, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from Mother. Family drama? Another time then. She slipped her card into my hand. I'm here most Thursdays. Later that night, as I cleaned my weapons and reviewed the target file, I caught myself thinking about green eyes and intelligent conversation. Mother called again, rambling about the son of some family friend who'd make such a good match. Actually, Mother, I heard myself say, I'm seeing someone. Oh? Who is he? What family? The lie spilled out before I could stop it. Her name is Phoebe. The silence that followed was deafening. I'd just complicated my life exponentially, but watching the sunset paint the sky blood red, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. Besides, what were the chances I'd see her again? Fate, it turned out, had other plans. The next day, I spotted Phoebe walking into my target's office building. She emerged hours later, carrying a file labeled Child Services. My stomach dropped as I realized my perfect lie had just become a dangerous truth. Marcus Chen, the gallery owner, appeared beside my observation post. Saw you chatting with Phoebe yesterday. Careful with that one. She sees right through people's masks. I smiled tightly, watching her disappear into the crowd. My finger traced the business card in my pocket as 2 worlds collided. The professional in me said to walk away. The woman who'd spent her life in shadows wondered what it might feel like to step into the light. Mother's incoming call flashed on my phone. I let it ring, my mind already crafting the next lie. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd fabricated a relationship to escape an arranged marriage, only to find myself drawn to the very woman I'd randomly named as my alibi. 3 days of surveillance had taught me Phoebe's schedule, not for personal interest, I told myself, but because she kept showing up at my target's locations. She worked cases involving troubled families, her compassion evident in every interaction. It was becoming dangerously distracting. Fancy meeting you here. Her voice caught me off guard outside a coffee shop. I'd been watching my target through the window, not noticing her approach. Amateur mistake. Just getting my caffeine fix, I lied smoothly, though my heart raced. She wore a deep blue dress that made her green eyes sparkle. For the 3rd time this week, at my regular spot? Her knowing smile suggested she'd noticed my presence before. Either you're stalking me or fate's trying to tell us something. Before I could formulate a response, the sky opened up. We rushed under the nearest awning, ironically, the art gallery where we'd first met. Rain drummed against the canvas, creating an intimate bubble around us. You know, Phoebe said, wiping droplets from her face. Most people would have asked me out by now. I'm not most people, I replied, acutely aware of our proximity. Besides, I thought you were doing the stalking. She laughed, the sound warming something long frozen inside me. Well, someone had to make the first move. You're rather hard to read, Lana. That's intentional. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Is that why you told your mother we're engaged? I froze. How did you? Small world. Your mother called my office, trying to verify my existence. Her eyes danced with amusement. I played along. Hope you don't mind having a fake fiancé. The rain pounded harder, matching my pulse. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. Used me as your beard? Could have bought me dinner first. She stepped closer, her perfume mingling with the rain-soaked air. Though I admit, I'm curious why you chose me. Lightning flashed, illuminating her face. In that moment, my carefully constructed walls cracked. I closed the distance between us, our lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of rain and possibility. Her hands found my waist, pulling me closer. When we parted, reality crashed back. I'd just kissed a woman connected to my target. Worse, I wanted to do it again. Well, Phoebe breathed. That explains the engagement story. I should go. I stepped back, professional instincts screaming. Running seems to be your specialty. She caught my wrist gently. But I'm working with some kids who need help. Kids connected to someone you're interested in. Maybe we could help each other. The double meaning hung between us. I knew I should walk away. Mixing business with pleasure was deadly in my line of work. But watching her in the rain, I realized I was already in too deep. Dinner? I suggested, against every instinct. Tomorrow? Her smile could have lit up the darkening sky. It's a date. Or should I say, a proper engagement celebration. As I walked away, my phone buzzed with a message from my employer. Targets children, complicating matters. Find solution. I looked back at Phoebe, who waved through the rain. For the first time in my career, I wasn't sure which mission mattered more. The rain had soaked through my clothes, but I barely noticed. My lips still tingled from the kiss, while my mind raced with complications. I'd started this game to avoid one trap, only to willingly walk into another. The question was, which would prove more dangerous? The hit or the heart? Our engagement became the talk of Anaheim's social circle, much to my discomfort and Phoebe's amusement. She played her role perfectly at charity events, her hand casually resting on my lower back, whispering sweet nothings that made me forget my target's file gathering dust at home. You're a natural at this, she murmured during a gallery opening where Marcus kept shooting us knowing looks. Almost like you've practiced pretending before. If she only knew. Instead, I pulled her closer, inhaling her signature jasmine scent. Maybe I'm not pretending anymore. Her eyes widened slightly, but before she could respond, my target walked in. James Morrison, philanthropist and, according to my employer, a man with dangerous secrets. More concerning were the two teenagers trailing him, his children, Phoebe's cases. Those kids, Phoebe whispered, her professional mask slipping. They've been through hell. Their father. Tell me, I said, leading her to a quiet corner. Every detail could matter, though I wasn't sure anymore which mission I was serving. She hesitated. Client confidentiality, but let's just say, sometimes monsters hide behind charity work. The implications churned my stomach. My employer hadn't mentioned children. Then again, they never shared more than necessary. Dance with me, I suggested, needing to move, to think. She followed my lead onto the floor, her body fitting perfectly against mine. You're full of surprises, Lana Mitchell, she said, using my full name pointedly. Professional dancer too? Among other things. The music slowed, and I drew her closer. How much digging have you done into my background? Enough to know you're dangerous. Her fingers traced patterns on my neck. Not enough to know why. The evening blurred into a haze of champagne and meaningful glances. Later, in her apartment overlooking the city lights, we crossed a line I'd been tiptoeing around for weeks. Her kisses tasted of expensive wine and unspoken truths, hands exploring territory more dangerous than any mission. Morning found us tangled in silk sheets, my usual vigilance softened by her presence. Stay, she murmured, pressing kisses along my shoulder. My phone buzzed, another message from my employer. I ignored it, watching sunlight play across her peaceful face. The professional in me knew I was compromised. The woman in me didn't care. Mother's expecting us for dinner next week, I said instead. Still willing to play fiancé? She propped herself up on an elbow, suddenly serious. Depends. Are we still playing? The question hung between us like smoke. Before I could answer, her work phone rang. Another crisis with Morrison's kids. Reality crashed back as she rushed to dress. All business now. This isn't just professional interest, is it? She asked at her door. Your focus on the Morrison case. Would you believe me if I said I'm trying to help? She studied me with those penetrating green eyes. "I believe you're capable of more than you show. Just remember, those kids need protection, not more complications." The words hit harder than any bullet. I watched her leave, my mission and heart at war. The engagement might have started as fiction, but something real had grown in its shadow. Something that made me question every target, every order, every lie. My phone buzzed again. The employer was getting impatient. Soon I'd have to choose complete the mission or protect what was growing between us. As I gathered my clothes, I realized both options would require a sacrifice I wasn't sure I was ready to make. What started as a convenient lie had become a beautiful truth, wrapped in layers of professional deceit. The question wasn't whether I loved her. That answer terrified me with its clarity. The question was whether love could survive in a world built on lies. The file landed on her desk with a soft thud. "Care to explain this?" Phoebe's voice was steady, but her hands trembled as she held up surveillance photos, my handiwork from previous jobs. I'd gotten sloppy, leaving traces in my laptop while staying at her place. Now, standing in her office after hours, I watched my carefully constructed world crumble. "You're not just some corporate security consultant, are you?" Her eyes, usually warm, had turned to sharp emerald. "Those dead CEOs last year, that politician's accident." "Phoebe," I started, but she cut me off. "Don't." She stood, putting her desk between us. "I counsel victims of violence every day. I should have seen the signs. The way you move, always watching exits, the mysterious phone calls. It's not what you think." Even as I said it, I knew how hollow it sounded. "Then explain why you have detailed files on James Morrison, on his children." Her voice cracked. "Those kids trust me, Lana. Was I just your way in?" The truth stuck in my throat. Yes, initially. No, not anymore. Nothing was that simple now. "Morrison isn't who you think he is," I managed. "The charity work, the donations, it's all a front for something darker. And that justifies murder?" She threw another file down. "Or was that just business too? Like using me to avoid your family's matchmaking?" Each word struck like a physical blow. I stepped forward, but she flinched away. That small movement hurt worse than any wound I'd ever received. "The engagement might have started as a lie," I said softly, "but what I feel for you is real. How can I believe anything you say?" Tears sparkled in her eyes. "I fell in love with a ghost." The words hung between us like smoke after a gunshot. "Love, the one target I'd never aimed for." "I'm still me," I whispered. "The woman who kisses you good morning, who argues about art symbolism, who holds you during thunderstorms, and kills people between coffee dates?" Her laugh was bitter. Gosh, what a romantic. Suddenly, her phone lit up. A text about Morrison's kids. Her face paled as she read it. "They're missing," she breathed. "Both teenagers disappeared after school." Professional instincts kicked in. "When?" "Don't." She held up a hand. "Don't pretend to care now." "I've always cared." I pulled out my phone, showing her messages from my employer. "Morrison's been trafficking kids through his charity network. His own children discovered proof. That's why I was assigned." "Assigned to kill their father?" She stared at the evidence. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? A killer claiming moral high ground?" The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, she sank into her chair. "The kids," she whispered. "They need help now. Whatever else is true, whatever lies you've told, they're innocent." I moved slowly to her side, relieved when she didn't pull away. "Let me help find them. Then you can decide what to do about us." She looked up, tears tracking down her cheeks. "Is there even an us under all the lies?" Instead of answering, I kissed her. It was different from our previous kisses. Desperate, honest, tasting of salt and truth. When we parted, her hands were gripping my jacket. "Save those kids," she whispered against my lips. "Then we'll talk about redemption." My phone buzzed. Mother, announcing she'd arrive tomorrow to meet her future daughter-in-law. Perfect timing, as always. But watching Phoebe wipe her tears, straightening into professional mode, I realized some lies were worth the truth they led to. "We'll find them," I promised, meaning more than just the missing teenagers. We had to find our way back to trust, to whatever real thing had grown from fake beginnings. First, though, we had a monster to stop, and two paths of justice to reconcile. Mother arrived with the subtlety of a hurricane, sweeping into Phoebe's carefully staged apartment with critical eyes and endless questions. We'd spent the previous night planting fake photos, creating a paper trail of our relationship, while searching for Morrison's kids. "So, darling, how did you two meet?" Mother settled onto the couch, examining Phoebe like a specimen under glass. "At the gallery," I answered, watching Phoebe pour tea with perfect poise. "We both fell for the same painting." "The one with hidden daggers," Phoebe added, her smile genuine despite everything. "Your daughter has quite an eye for detail." Mother's lips tightened at the artwork reference. She'd always hated my morbid tastes. "And your family, dear?" "Gone," Phoebe said smoothly. "But I've built my own family through my work with children." I squeezed her hand, the gesture both performance and comfort. Last night's intel suggested Morrison had moved his kids to a beach house up the coast. We just needed to get through this charade first. "Children," Mother brightened. "So you'll be wanting some of your own?" Phoebe's composure slipped slightly. "We're focused on helping existing children for now. Speaking of which, honey, we have that case meeting later." "Of course." I checked my phone, pretending to see a reminder. "Mother, I'm sorry, but duty calls." After endless goodbyes and promises of future visits, we escaped to Phoebe's beach house, our temporary headquarters. The sunset painted the ocean blood red as we spread out surveillance photos. "Your mother's quite traditional," Phoebe commented, changing into more comfortable clothes. The domestic normalcy of the moment struck me hard. Hence the arranged marriage escape plan. I watched her move around the kitchen, so natural in my space now. "Thank you for playing along." She paused, leaning against the counter. "Wasn't all playing?" "That story about the gallery? That was real." The admission hung between us like morning mist. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed, coordinates from a contact. "Morrison's location." "He's moving them tonight," I said, studying the message. "Private yacht, international waters." Phoebe's professional mask slipped into place. "Those poor kids. Their own father." I crossed to her, pulling her close. The scent of her shampoo mixed with sea air as she melted against me. One kiss led to another, deeper, more urgent. We barely made it to the bedroom, clothes marking a trail behind us. Later, wrapped in sheets and moonlight, reality crept back in. "We move at dawn," I whispered against her shoulder. "End this once and for all." She rolled over, green eyes serious. "Just promise me something? No more killing. There has to be another way." I traced her cheekbone, remembering every lie that led us here, every truth that kept us together. "For you? I'll try." The waves crashed outside, nature's countdown to morning. Tomorrow would bring violence, rescue, consequences. But tonight, holding her close, I allowed myself to imagine a future beyond missions and masks. "Stay safe," she murmured, drifting off. "I'm not ready to lose my fake fiancé." I smiled into her hair, knowing the fake part had stopped being true somewhere between lies and dawn. The assassin in me calculated exit strategies and contingency plans. The woman in me simply held on tighter. Morning would come too soon, bringing with it choices and chaos. But for now, in this peaceful moment between deception and truth, I let myself believe in redemption. My phone glowed silently, another message from the employer. I ignored it, focusing instead on Phoebe's steady breathing. Some targets were worth missing for the right reasons. Dawn was coming, and with it, a reckoning. But whatever happened next, this night, this woman, this truth, it was worth every lie that brought us here. The burner phone's message was clear: finish the job or they both die. Attached was a photo of Phoebe at her office, time-stamped 10 minutes ago, crosshairs superimposed over her head. My employer didn't appreciate delays. Dawn was breaking over Anaheim as I paced our beach house, torn between profession and heart. The yacht carrying Morrison and his kids would leave in hours. Phoebe was already at work, unaware she'd become a target. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Marcus said when I burst into his gallery. "Phoebe's not here." "I know." I showed him the photo. "I need your help. You're connected. You must know about Morrison's operation." He studied me carefully. "Finally choosing sides, Lana?" "I chose when they threatened her." My voice cracked. "Everything else is collateral damage." Marcus sighed, pulling out a hidden file. "Morrison's been using my gallery to move kids for years. I've been gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment." That moment's now. I scanned the documents, dates, locations, offshore accounts. Why didn't you come forward? Same reason you didn't tell Phoebe the truth sooner. Fear. He locked the gallery doors. Speaking of truth, your employer just called. They're moving on Phoebe's office. My heart stopped. I dialed her number, straight to voicemail. Which cases was she working on recently? Besides Morrison's kids? Domestic violence. Marcus pulled up her schedule on his computer. Lots of them. Women escaping dangerous men. The pieces clicked. She's been helping trafficked women escape. That's why Morrison wants her gone. She's disrupting his network without knowing it. My phone buzzed. A text from Phoebe. Found something big. Meet me at office. Hurry. It's a trap, Marcus warned. I know. I checked my weapon. But I'm done playing by their rules. The elevator ride to Phoebe's floor felt endless. When the doors opened, I found her office dark, her assistant's desk empty. A figure stood at her window. Beautiful view, Morrison said without turning. Perfect for watching your world burn. Where is she? He gestured to a chair. Phoebe sat eerily still, eyes wide, a bruise forming on her cheek. My trigger finger itched. Your employer sends regards, Morrison smiled. Seems we share interests. My network, their cleanup services. Until you got distracted. Let her go. My voice was ice. This ends now. It ended the moment she accessed restricted files. He pulled out a gun. Though I admit your love story almost had me convinced. The cold assassin, melted by a bleeding heart social worker. The kids, Phoebe spoke suddenly. Tell her what you did to those children. Morrison's smile faltered. Necessary sacrifices for a greater cause. Money, she spat. That's your great cause? Destroying lives for profit? His gun swung toward her. Idealists, always seeing good where there's only business. Time slowed. I saw his finger tighten on the trigger, saw Phoebe's defiant glare, saw our future hanging by a thread. Wait, I said quickly. You're right. Love made me sloppy. Let me fix it. His eyebrows rose. Prove it. I raised my gun, pointed at Phoebe. Her eyes met mine, showing not fear but understanding. Trust. Sorry, darling, I whispered. Business is business. Morrison laughed. Perhaps I underestimated. The window behind him exploded. A sniper's shot Marcus's contribution. In the chaos, I tackled Phoebe as Morrison fired wildly. The kids, she gasped as we hit the floor. The yacht. Coast Guard's already there. I pressed a kiss to her forehead. Your evidence file did its job. Sirens wailed in the distance. Morrison lay clutching his shoulder, cursing. My phone buzzed one last time, the employer, no doubt demanding explanations. I helped Phoebe up, watching Dawn paint the broken window gold. Ready to retire from being my fake fiancé? She touched her bruised cheek, then pulled me close. Depends. Ready to be a real one? Morrison groaned from the floor. My old life bled out with him, while a new one beckoned from the sunrise. Sometimes the biggest lies lead to the deepest truths. The mountain cabin's isolation felt like freedom after weeks of chaos. Phoebe sat on the porch, reviewing case files of Morrison's victims while I secured our perimeter. Old habits die hard, even in hiding. Your mother's called 6 times today, she said as I joined her. Apparently, our engagement party is overdue. I wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, breathing in pine-scented air. Funny timing, considering I just told her everything. Her head snapped up. Everything. Well, not the assassination part. I settled beside her, but the truth about us, about who I am. The conversation with Mother had been brutal. Hours of tears, accusations, traditions shattering like glass. But watching Phoebe's smile now made it worth every painful word. How did she take it? Better than finding out her daughter's a professional killer. I caught her hand, tracing old scars. Though she did say she always knew I was different. Phoebe leaned into me, case files forgotten. Different is good. Different saved those kids. The Morrison case had exploded across national news. Trafficking ring exposed, corrupt officials arrested, children rescued. My employer had vanished like smoke, leaving only silence. Marcus sent more evidence. She nodded toward her laptop. Names, dates, offshore accounts. enough to dismantle similar operations across 3 states. You're enjoying this detective work too much. I kissed her temple. Should I be jealous? Says the woman who taught me surveillance techniques. Her smile faded slightly. Any word from your old contacts? I shook my head. The underworld had gone quiet, but threat lingered like storm clouds. They're regrouping, planning. Let them. Phoebe's voice held steel. We have our own plans now. She was right. The cabin was temporary, but our future stretched beyond these mountains. New identities waited in sealed envelopes. New purpose in the files spread around us. Your cases, I gestured to the papers. The domestic violence victims. They're connected to trafficking rings too, aren't they? She nodded grimly. Always have been. I just didn't see the pattern before. Now we can help them properly. I pulled out my laptop, showing her bank transfers. My retirement fund should support a private investigation firm. Lana Mitchell, she laughed. Are you suggesting we become legal vigilantes? Better than illegal ones. I caught her chin, turning her face to mine. Besides, someone needs to protect people like those kids. Her kiss tasted of coffee and possibility. We'd spent nights planning this new life, transforming skills honed for darkness into tools for light. Speaking of kids, she murmured against my lips, the Morrison teenagers want to thank you. Their foster family says they're healing. Pride and pain mingled in my chest. They're strong, like their social worker. Like their savior, she countered, then grew serious. Your old employer won't find us. I stood, pulling her up. But we'll find others like Morrison. Stop them before they destroy more lives. She followed me inside, where maps and documents covered every surface. Our war room, Phoebe called it. Our redemption, I thought. Your mother also mentioned grandchildren, she said casually, making me choke on my coffee. Apparently different doesn't mean no family. I stared at her, heart racing. Are you saying? I'm saying, she wrapped her arms around my waist, that running a detective agency sounds like good practice for parenthood. The future unfurled before us. Cases solved, lives saved, family built from choice rather than blood. Everything I never knew I wanted until her. First, I said, holding her close. We need to survive telling Mother about the career change. Her laughter echoed through the cabin, chasing away lingering shadows. Outside, snow began to fall, covering our tracks, marking a clean slate. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new missions, new chances to right old wrongs. But tonight, holding my real fiancé in our temporary sanctuary, I finally felt at peace with both my past and our future. Sometimes the best hiding place is in plain sight, among the truth you've finally learned to tell. 1 year later, I stood in our new gallery's doorway, watching Phoebe arrange photographs for our opening night. Not paintings this time, evidence transformed into art, telling stories of survival and justice. The lighting's wrong on the domestic violence series, she muttered, adjusting frames. We need more shadow. Always about the shadows with you, I teased, wrapping my arms around her waist. The ring on her finger, real this time, caught the light. The gallery served as our cover and conscience. Upstairs, our investigation firm helped women escape dangerous men. Downstairs, their stories became powerful exhibitions, drawing attention to causes most preferred to ignore. Your mother's bringing potential donors tonight, Phoebe reminded me. Try not to terrify them with your extensive knowledge of weapons and classical art. No promises. I kissed her neck. Besides, that knowledge helped us crack the Thompson case last week. She turned in my arms, green eyes sparkling. Speaking of cases, Detective Cooper called. They found another trafficking operation using art shipments. Like Morrison. My voice remained steady now when saying his name. Similar. But this time, we have a head start. She led me to our hidden office, where case files waited. Ready to save more lives? Before I could answer, the gallery door chimed. Marcus walked in, carrying coffee and newspapers. Your mother's interview made the front page. I grabbed the paper, grinning at the headline. Socialite supports LGBTQ youth safety initiative. Mother's evolution had surprised everyone, especially me. She's speaking at next month's fundraiser, Phoebe said proudly. Something about traditions evolving for greater good. Speaking of evolution, Marcus handed me an envelope. Your old employer surfaced in Europe. trying to rebuild. My hand tightened on the paper, but Phoebe's touch steadied me. We'd known this day would come. The past never stays buried. Let them try, she said firmly. We're stronger now, connected. She was right. Our network stretched across countries, reformed assassins, domestic violence survivors, law enforcement allies, a web of protection and prevention. Besides, Marcus added, they don't know about the evidence we've gathered. One wrong move. No killing, Phoebe reminded us both. We do this right. I pulled her close, breathing in her familiar jasmine scent. Yes, dear. The gallery filled with evening light as we prepared for opening night. Each photograph told a story. Children rescued, women empowered, traffickers imprisoned, art transforming darkness into awareness. Mother arrived early, impeccably dressed and carrying adoption agency brochures. Just some light reading, dears. Phoebe laughed at my expression. Perfect timing. We have news. I raised an eyebrow. This wasn't in our morning discussion. Remember that teenage girl we helped last month? Phoebe's eyes sparkled. She needs permanent placement, someone who understands trauma and healing. My heart stopped, then raced. You mean... If you're ready, she squeezed my hand. We could be more than just investigators. Mother's delighted gasp echoed through the gallery. Marcus quietly disappeared, giving us space. I looked around at our creation, the gallery below, investigation firm above. A place where secrets served justice, where lies became truth, where broken people found strength. Yes, I whispered, pulling Phoebe into a kiss that tasted of future. It's time. The opening night crowd began arriving, unaware that among the art celebrating survival, another story was beginning. A former assassin and a social worker, building family from chosen pieces, just like we'd built justice from broken systems. Ready? Phoebe straightened my collar. I looked at her, my fake fiancée turned real wife, my redemption and revolution, and smiled. With you? Always. Sometimes the best endings aren't endings at all, but beautiful beginnings in disguise. And sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun or a lie, but the truth that sets everything free. The gallery lights dimmed, highlighting photographs of salvation. Outside, Anaheim's sunset painted the sky in colors of hope. Inside, we prepared to tell our story, one saved life at a time. Art, justice, love, family. Who knew an assassin's heart could hold so much light?